Starting with you, Sanjay Hegde. I have with me para 28 of the bail order that was given yesterday by the trial court, which seems to suggest the very scenario constrains the court to draw an inference against the investigating agency that it is not acting without bias. So the trial court seems to suggest somewhere that there is an element of bias in the way the Enforcement Directorate has proceeded against Arvind Kejriwal and wants to constantly ensure that he doesn't get bail. Should that have been taken into account by the High Court when they so readily today stepped in and decided to stay that order?
Well, there are two or three questions there. The High Court was sitting during the vacation. It had an appeal before it, and it said that till the appeal was heard, let nothing be precipitated. Mm-hmm. And now, because the hearing went on till 4:30 in the evening on a Friday, it's obvious that the judges wanted to consider their order and dictate an order of some length. So there are administrative problems. So therefore, they've said that they've continued their original order of stay for a couple of days in order to pronounce a judgment. We don't know which way the judgment will go. I'm not taking the stay of the High Court as an indication of what it will ultimately rule in respect of the stay petition. The second part of your question was on the argument of bias on the part of the ED. The trial court was responding to the ED's submission that by the ASG that investigation is an art. Sometimes one accused is given a lollipop of bail and pardon and induced with some assurance to make them tell the story behind the offense. So therefore, what the High Court says is, what the trial court says is that, look, it appears that you are doing a pick and choose. You seem to be inducing people. And so therefore, the court says that I pause to consider this argument, which is not a palatable submission. Because if it is so, then any person can be implicated and kept behind the bars by artistically procuring material against him after artistically avoiding withdrawing exculpatory material from the record. So it does appear that the ED's own submissions prompted that finding by the trial court. Yes.
I take your point, and I just thought that might be a good point to go to my guest from the ED. सत्येंद्र सिंह, ये बताइए, ये कहा जा रहा है कि एनफोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट ने बगैर ट्रायल कोर्ट के ऑर्डर पड़े हुए तुरंत आज सुबह गई कि बेल डिनाई करना है, और आम आदमी पार्टी का कहना है कि किसी भी हालत में ईडी नहीं चाहता कि अरविंद केजरीवाल या मोदी सरकार नहीं चाहती कि अरविंद केजरीवाल बाहर निकले. क्या कहेंगे?
राजदीप जी, देखिए, मैं ये जो पॉलिटिकल नैरेटिव की बात नहीं करूंगा. जो लीगल सिस्टम है हमारा, लीगल सिस्टम क्या है? यदि जो एग्रीव्ड पार्टी है वो अपने फर्स्ट इंस्टांस पे, फर्स्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी पे हायर कोर्ट में जाती है कि सामने वाली पार्टी को बेनिफिट नहीं मिले, और यही इसमें हुआ. तो ऐसी कोई अजीब चीज नहीं हुई है. जो लीगल सिस्टम में है उनको बेल दी ट्रायल कोर्ट ने, रात को दी ऑर्डर. ऐसा नहीं है कि बिना ऑर्डर पड़े हाई कोर्ट चले गए.
So, Akshay Marathe, what Satyendra Singh ji is saying is that the ED has every right to oppose this granting of bail that the trial court has given. They are following due process. Immediately, Aam Aadmi Party has already now gone and said that the entire system is biased against us, that there is a determined plot to ensure that Arvind Kejriwal is not allowed on bail. The fact is, this is a process. I know it's tortuous. I know, therefore, for the weekend, Mr. Kejriwal will have to spend his time in jail. But that's the law of the land, not just for Mr. Kejriwal, but for any citizen of this country.
Randeep ji, as the Aam Aadmi of this India, we are used to getting tariq pe tariq. It is nothing new. It is only for the khas Aadmis of the BJP that the high courts and the court system is able to give bail very easily. And in fact, we saw very recently that Mr. Yediyurappa was even prevented from being arrested by the courts because he's no Tom, Dick and Harry. He's a former chief minister, apparently. So the law is applied very differently to different people in the system, and that has become amply clear. But let me focus on the important point that we need to talk about today, Rajdeep ji, because for the last 2 years, we have suffered at the hands of a BJP, Enforcement Directorate, court system, even some sections of the media which have maligned the image of the Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal. 4 of our leaders have been in jail in this particular case. And the trial court yesterday completely demolished any iota of the Enforcement Directorate's claims against the Aam Aadmi Party. Why am I saying that? If you look at the order carefully, every single para lays out what are the problems with the Enforcement Directorate. It says that they failed to clarify how much time it is going to need to trace the complete money trail. For 2 years, this investigation has been going on. Arvind Kejriwal ji gets arrested on the eve of the election, but they have no indication that how much longer they are going to need to complete this investigation. So what? He will be in jail forever and ever. How can the country run like this? He's an elected chief minister, elected thrice by the people of Delhi. Then the court says that
Mr. Marathe, if I may stop you for a moment, just to clarify, Mr. Kejriwal has applied for bail to the High Court and to the Supreme Court in the past. The Supreme Court sent him back to the trial court. So it's not as if the legal process is not going on in the country. You're giving the impression almost as if the entire legal process, including the Supreme Court, is subverted. Manish Sisodia, Satyendra Jain, the others who are in jail have all gone through this legal process. Are we saying all the judges are also in some way biased?
Rajiv ji, I was not saying anything against the judges. I was merely making a point about Mr. Yediyurappa's case because it is an important distinction that everybody has to admit. I'm not casting aspersions on individual judges. Yeah, but let me make just one quick point before you bring Shazia Ilmi, because this is important. We have been saying from day one, Rajdeep ji, that not a single shred of evidence was found. They did 500 raids against our leaders. Not 1 rupee was recovered from any of our residences, offices, ancestral villages, etc. So how is the Enforcement Directorate able to say that there is a link between some WhatsApp chats that they found and Mr. Arvind Kejriwal? That is the crux of the matter. Okay. The trial court today has admitted that there is no evidence linking Arvind Kejriwal ji, and that's why the ED is so panicked. And I can see why the BJP is so is finding it difficult to digest it, because Arvind Kejriwal coming out of jail before the Delhi election is a major problem for them.
I'll come to that in a moment. What the political implication? Just for a moment to focus on the law. Shazia Ilmi, again, when I look at the observations that were made in the bail order, it's the judge says it seems that the ED also believes that the evidence on record is not sufficient to proceed against the applicant, and it is taking time to procure the same in any manner. Now, clearly the trial court judge, this is the trial court judge.
Yes, and just like you insinuate that there was a tearing hurry on the part of ED to run to High Court to challenge this, what was the tearing hurry for the trial judge and the learned judge on the vacation bench to give this bail? Because according to SV Raju, the documents were not even looked at. The judge found it too much, and if she found the documents, they found the documents too bulky and cumbersome to go through. And
are you also casting aspersions on the judge, ma'am?
So that both sides
are you casting aspersions on the judge?
The documents. Let me finish. Now, I want to finish saying what I'm saying.
Please go ahead.
Because give me as much time.
I will.
And,
don't worry. I will.
And so, yes. We have to divide time equally amongst all. So let's not have rebuttals. Let's not be in such a tearing hurry to keep offering rebuttals. So what was the tearing hurry for the trial court to give this bail? By the same logic, and also without looking at both sides of the argument, especially when the time was asked for, and SV Raju even said, I have to make my argument. The vacation judges, the vacation bench and the judges on it felt that it was too bulky and they don't want to go through that. Surely it is a job of the prosecuting agency to challenge this. If they had not challenged this, if Arvind Kejriwal and his team were distributing laddus today, what would they have said? That there was no case to start with? Why is Manish Sisodia in jail? Why is K. Kavita in jail? What was the role of Vijay Nair? Why were all the phones destroyed? Why was bail denied again and again to Manish Sisodia, not once but many times over? What was the role of Dinesh Arora, Amit Arora, the Hawala operators? What was the role of Reddy's? When you talk about Reddy's, what do they say? Oh, because they became approver, they got bail. How are people made approvers? What is the whole judicial process that is taken into consideration? We all know that. So when you get bail, what do you say? Oh, the court is great. And when the bail is stayed or paused or halted for real reasons as part of the judicial process, what do you say? oh, BJP government is against us. There is a lot of confusion here which need not be there. And it's totally unwarranted to keep blaming the judges when it suits you and when it doesn't.